Hi team, greetings everyone. In our previous session, we saw the concept called as quick run settings, right? Using this quick run settings, we can change the execution run settings with the help of this option, right? When you're going for this run settings, it is going to take the default settings, and when you want to customize the settings for a particular execution, then you can go for this quick run settings. That is what we saw in the previous session. Now here if you can see, once we run in a different machine or once we run the particular script, we are getting the status here. We are getting step level result where we are seeing this status called as failed, passed and skipped, right? And when I go to this execution dashboard, how do we navigate? Just click on test development, just click on this execution dashboard. So once I click on execution dashboard, we'll be getting multiple status like passed, failed, skipped, warning. So we need to understand what is the meaning of those statuses. So in today's session, we are going to discuss about different types of status that we will be getting and what is the meaning of those statuses, right? So for that, we will discuss about the status of executions. Okay. Now we will discuss about the status and the reason for it. Okay, so first status that you might get means you will get once you trigger the execution. So once you click on the run button or this quick run settings, you set the settings, and once you click on this run button, what is going to happen? It is going to show you this particular status, initializing execution. So if you are not getting the status also, it doesn't mean it is wrong. So initially this is the workaround, means this is the working process. You should means initially it will be initializing the execution. When you get this particular status, what is the meaning of it? So it is indicating that a message is sent to the server for triggering the execution. From where it is sent? From your local machine. So if you remember this architecture of FireFlink client, which we discussed in the previous video, so there I have explained how the architecture of this FireFlink client will work, right? So now what is happening? A request is sent to the FireFlink server itself. For what? For triggering the execution. Okay, whenever you are going to click on run, a request is sent to the FireFlink server. A message is saying that this particular person wants to trigger the execution. So this status indicates that your request means your particular message has been sent to the FireFlink server. Okay. After this, you will be getting this particular status, initialized. So this is mentioning that that message has been received to the FireFlink server, and FireFlink server has approved that initialization. So the data whichever you have sent, right, for execution, that is approved. Okay, this person can trigger the execution. So that is the meaning of getting this status called as initialized. Now the third status you might get is awaiting client status. So what is the awaiting client status? Now what is happening? The request has reached to the FireFlink server. Client FireFlink server can directly trigger the execution in our local machine. No, right? It should need a client application, right? That is nothing but our FireFlink client. So that client should be available. Now when you are getting this particular status, awaiting client acknowledgement, it is waiting for that particular client to be available, which is nothing but your FireFlink client should be up and running. If it is not up and running, then what is going to happen? This is going to get cancelled automatically. Why? Because without FireFlink client, we cannot do the execution, right? If the FireFlink client is available, then what is going to happen? Then you will be getting the next status, client acknowledged. This is indicating that the FireFlink client is up and running in that particular local machine. So client is available and all ports are up and running. So this client acknowledged indicates that your FireFlink client is available and all the ports are up and running. Now the next status you'll be getting is running. So once you get this running status, it is indicating that the execution has been triggered. So the execution is already triggered in your machine. So you are supposed to see the execution in your machine. That is the meaning of this running status. And the execution is triggered, the execution is currently running. Say for example, one execution is taking 2 minutes and you are seeing 2 minutes for this particular running status. So what is the meaning of it? The execution is happening still for 2 minutes. Okay. Now what is the next status you might get? So here this cancelled status, right? This you will not get until unless you are going to cancel the execution. So here say for example you are in all these three status, like you are getting this initializing execution or initialized, awaiting client status or client acknowledged. So here if you are having this two status, initializing execution and initialized, in this stage you want to cancel the execution. That time we can cancel the execution, and what will be the status of that particular script? cancelled because the user has intentionally cancelled the execution. So before it is triggering, if you want to cancel the execution, then that particular execution can be cancelled and the status of it will be cancelled, right? Now, okay, what if the execution has been already triggered? Then what I can do? Then you cannot cancel it, you can terminate it. So when the execution is already running and you want to terminate the execution, in that case, you will be having a terminate button, and once you terminate it, the status you are going to get is terminated. So cancelled is before you trigger the execution, and terminated is after that execution is triggered. Fine. Now let us move to the next status, which is nothing but passed. When all the steps of your script is passed, then you will get this passed status. All the steps in the script, say for example you have 20 steps in the particular script, all 20 steps are passed, then you will get passed status. Now next one is failed status. So when I say failed status, even one step is getting failed, even one step is getting failed in your automation script, it is going to give you the failed status. At least one step is failed in your execution. In that case, your execution means your execution result status will be failed. And what about warning? So if you remember, we have discussed about the if fail checkpoints where there is an option where we have to give mark this step as warning and continue the script execution. So in that case, that step will be marked as warning. So when the script has both passed and warning steps, that script result will be warning. What if the particular script is having all the three status? Passed steps is also there, failed step is also there, warning step is also there. In that case, I have already told you, even if one simple step is getting failed, what will be the status? Failed only. It will not give you warning because it is failing in one particular step. So what will be the script status? Failed, right? So what is the next one? Skipped. Now it means the live example which I can show you, the script which we ran already, right? If you are giving that if fail checkpoint, say for example, mark the step as failed and stop the script execution. In that case, what is going to happen? It is going to skip the other steps. You'll be getting this particular status when that particular step is not executed. When the particular script is not executed, then also you'll get the skipped status, meaning that that particular step or particular script is not executed. It has been skipped. Now next is we have something called as not available. What is this not available? When we will come across this? So when you are trying to execute a script which is having 0 steps, practically when you are trying to execute a script which is having 0 steps, you cannot execute it because there is no steps, right? Then how come we will come into this situation? Where we can take an example. I have created a step group and I have by accident I have selected that particular, means I have deleted all the steps which is present inside that step group. Now if I trigger the execution of that step group, what is going to happen? It is not going to execute anything because there is no steps present in that particular step group, right? So in that case, you will be getting this not available. So it is mentioning that there is nothing to execute, right? Now, the another status which you might get is parallel run exceeded for the license. So what is this status parallel run exceeded for license? When I will get this? So in order to understand this, we need to know the concept called as parallel runs, right? Once we discuss about the parallel runs, you'll understand this particular status. As of now, you can have a note of this. That's it. When the number of parallel run limit is exceeded, then you will be getting this particular parallel run exceeded for license, which will not trigger the execution. You are supposed to cancel this, right? So after this, you'll be having client is busy status. Now, one execution is already running. If I try to trigger one more execution in the same machine, you'll be getting this particular status. Client is busy. So it is stating that the client in which I want to trigger the execution is already running an execution. That is called as client is busy. You will get the status when the machine is already executing a script. So these are the different status that we might come across in our status, means execution status, right? So I hope this is clear. So now we should be able to understand that different status that is populating here while doing the execution. Once after the execution is also done, once we see the status only, we can easily understand what is the status of that particular script. So in today's video, we have seen the different status that we might come across in the FireFlink platform. Next session, we'll be discussing about the next topic. Thank you.